Alright, so welcome back to another video. Today I am going to be talking about the developments that have happened during this week in Israel and as well as Ukraine. And other than that, I'm also going to briefly talk about the situation. Well, not really a situation, more so just what happened on November 3rd in Armenia, because you can tell I'm from Armenia because of this conveniently placed little flag here. But I'm going to be talking about what happened recently with the um, bombing, the thwarted bombing attempt in the governmental buildings. What happened was that there were these five guys who got arrested by the National Security Service of Armenia who attempted to bomb some of the governmental buildings, kill a bunch of people, and also seize those buildings. But I guess they didn't really plan that out that well because they got arrested in the end. Uh, it says here Armenia's National Security Service said on Thursday it had arrested five suspects over what it said was a foiled terror attack aimed at government institutions, Armenian state news agencies, Ottoman press reported. This is by Reuters. But if you know Armenian, you can also just read on the official website of the National Security, just write National Security Service of Armenia, and you can find the whole story in Armenian. Not much to talk about. More so, just important to know what happened. You know that there's an actual attempt to do um, bombings in Yerevan, which is not. It's kind of stupid to say, but it's not that common, really. You don't really see that type of thing happen in Armenia that often. The last time was uh, the uh, parliamental shootings which like killed Vazgen Sargsyan, which happened a couple of years ago. Not a couple of years ago, a couple decades ago. But either way, uh, these people got arrested. They didn't plan it out that well, so nothing really happened at the end of it. If something else similar to that if that will happen soon, who knows? It's not out of the question, to be honest, because a lot of people are very upset and angry with the current government here in Armenia. So we'll see what will happen soon enough. And on to Israel. So in this week, they finally started their ground offensive in northern Gaza. They attacked from 3 points, 2 places in the north, attacking from the land in the Mediterranean Sea, as well as cutting off northern Gaza from well, the northern part of Gaza from the south. Uh, we have a really nice map here from it's called Live UA Map. But just be aware that this is a Western map. Like it's a not Western map. It's a Western funded website. So just keep that in mind. So as you can see, during the week they've been able to take many of the settlements in areas around uh, Gaza City, as well as cutting off the main highway um, between the north and the south regions of the Strip. So the Israelis, they said that the entire operation was going to be a three-step plan. The first step was the insane bombing operations that killed many and injured many more. Many thousands of people have died because of these. They've been bombing hospitals, schools, universities, homes, and the second part was obviously, as they themselves warned, with pamphlets being thrown from the air to the people in north of the Gaza Strip, that they were going to cut off the northern region from the southern one, and we can assume what the third step is going to be just the entire, like an entire storming of the north. And it's important to understand how difficult of an operation this is going to be for the Israelis, because it's a very they're going to be fighting in really thickly packed cities and, well, city and surrounding towns, and this is some of the it's urban warfare. It's some of the most like horrific type of warfare out there. It's just really bad. That's the most I can say, honestly. But uh, from an article that was posted in the Financial Times actually a couple days ago. I'm a bit late on this, honestly, but either way, it shows the satellite images of like how the Israelis actually attacked, and I would just like to point out the image at the end of the article where it shows how what the Israelis are actually planning on most likely doing on how to deal with this type of warfare that they've obviously put themselves in, and that they've definitely have extensively planned out to do if Hamas were to attack them, which would obviously give them a reason to do this, or if they just decided to do it one day. Uh, so it shows a lot of the bombings that they've done in the this is in the northern regions. But the image at the bottom, it shows in September of 2022, um, a a like block of buildings and houses, and then it shows in October, you know, or I guess November, what it looks like now, and you can just see that this entire block of homes just got deleted. It, it just got entirely bombed. And you in from the other images you can see the other craters, but this part really shows what they're planning on doing. Basically, just if there's any issues, impediment, to continuing forward, they are willing to just completely destroy the homes of people to advance. If they're gonna do this in the city, uh, most likely these satellite images are only of the northern areas, but once they start storming Gaza, I don't really doubt that we won't see images like this one, but with larger buildings and blocks destroyed. So the plan, from what I can tell, uh, from what the population in the north are going to have to do, who weren't able to or didn't want to run away to the south, is that they're just going to be pushed even more south towards the Sinai Peninsula, which is eventually where Israel wants to dump all of the population of Palestine. But as we know, all of the Arab nations and most obviously Egypt are against this because they don't want, Israel to get what they want. They want the Palestinians to stay in the Gaza Strip as well as the West Bank. So they're going to do everything they can to make sure that there's not a refugee crisis in Egypt. But the Israelis are still going to push on. They're gonna either push everyone to the south or kill those who aren't willing to move from their homes. And this is obviously horrible. I really hate what's going on. Obviously, both sides are doing atrocious acts, but at this current time, Israel is the one who is killing uh, many innocent civilians, pushing people out of their homes, and is just a horrible situation in all. And sad thing is that no sides really want peace because they're not going to get what they want out of this. So that's Israel. Uh, Next is Ukraine, and there have been some interesting developments that have happened in Ukraine. Firstly, the article from NBC News with the very unexpected title of U.S. European officials broach topic of peace negotiations with Ukraine, sources say. Now, in this article, it just talks about, how the Europeans in the U.S. are starting to whisper about, how, excuse me for saying, it's just kind of a filler thing for me, but either way, how the U.S., Europeans, and even some of the uh, Ukrainian officials are throwing around the stalemate word to explain the current situation there, where after the summer offensive, summer counteroffensive, where according to the Ukrainians, they were supposed to make it to Tokmak, make it to Crimea, cut off the Russians, take over all of Crimea, get regime change in Russia. But that didn't work out. And the most they were able to do is just capture a couple of tiny villages. And after that, after they lost their momentum, the Russians are now slowly encroaching from all sides on the front lines. The currently, if I'm not mistaken, where the most amount of fighting is going on is in Avdiivka, where the Russians are trying to get better positions for them to be able to eventually then storm the town slash city. It's on the edges of being either or, so city town. Let's just call it city town. Uh, and this has obviously been, an excuse me, a big debacle for Zelensky because in September, he went to uh, the U.S., Europe. He did a whole tour, if you will, of the West, and he promised, even before then, he promised many captured cities, towns, but alas, that has not happened. Um, and now he understands that he gave a promise, and he's a leader of a country. He gave a promise to the people who are funding him, and he didn't provide. He did not provide. So what's going on now in Ukraine is that, uh, if I'm not mistaken, 2 days ago, in a speech that Zelensky gave, he said that Ukraine is planning to do a reshuffle of the command structure in the armed forces. This is just a really pretty way of saying we want to get rid of some people. And who are these people? They are some of the more important military people in the armed forces. This being Sirsky and Zaluzhny, uh, mainly throwing a lot of the uh, mainly throwing a lot of the blame of what happened in any failure that's happened recently, up until starting from Bakhmut until the current situation of Avdiivka onto Sirsky, as well as wanting to get rid of Zaluzhny. Um, Now, it's important to understand that both of these people have the power to overthrow Zelensky with like an army. Not overthrow, but obviously uh, they have the power. They have the power to do so. If they'll be successful, who knows? But these people have a lot of power. They can just call any 10,000 troops to them and start marching towards Kiev. And Zelensky, understanding that he failed on his promises and that now there's no chance to do any type of counteroffensive and that it's all just now on the defensive since all of his commanders are unwilling to do any type of offensive. They're only, well, most of them, a lot of them just understand that you have to just be defensive now because you're not getting any other types of military support from the Western countries, that he has to throw this blame onto someone. And who better than the people who are the most powerful other than him? Zaluzhny and Syrskyi. And we'll see who comes afterwards, or if anyone will at all, or just what the situation will bring in the coming days or 2 weeks. I'm saying 2 weeks sounds a bit specific, but you know. So yeah, that's the video. Not much really. A lot of other really small stuff happened this week, like situation in Dagestan and um yeah, stuff like that. But I wanted to give more of a general, broad uh, video about what's happened in the world. I might stick to just doing weekly videos so I can give kind of like a summary of what happened throughout the week. So I'll be talking more about big stories instead of the small ones. So yeah, that's the video. Thanks for watching. Hope you got something out of that. And do not forget to condemn war crimes no matter who does it, where they are, and what they are. Thanks. Bye bye.